Dear viewers, many thanks for joining us. You're watching our weekly program, Talk to OBN, on OBN Horn of Africa, your favorite media channel. Today, we're going to discuss on current affairs of Ethiopia. I'm joined by former Deputy Speaker of Kenyan Parliament and member of Kenyan Parliament, Honorable Farah Maalim, virtually from Kenya. Thank you for joining me, Honorable Farah Maalim.
Thank you. You're welcome, Adis.
Okay, you've heard our topic of discussion. It is mainly on current affairs, the AU-led negotiation. What is your comment on this negotiation, though?
I think it's a paradigm shift in the manner in which this was conducted. Ordinarily, throughout history, when you go into an adventurism and you lose in that war, which you started yourself, all those people who are responsible for the planning, the execution of that ill-fated adventure must initially be disposed of in one way or the other. Disposed of in the sense they're sent to jail, or in certain extreme cases, the way it happened after the Second World War, was some of them, were given the death penalty and they ended up, joining their creator in heaven or in hell, I think. So, but this one now is a paradigm shift in that one is that you are negotiating with the very people who planned and executed the destruction of this, the efforts to destroy Ethiopia as a nation the way we knew it before. And that's TPLF. So they lost TPLF, went into that adventurism, lost the war and lost it big time. And the very people who lost the war and who started the ill-fated adventurism in the first place are the ones you're negotiating with now. So in a sense, it's a shift from the way it's been done in the past in other parts of the world throughout history. But now that having been done, because when you lose a war, when you engage in a war and lose a war, you can only negotiate a surrender. The content and everything that is involved in this particular negotiation right now is tantamount to a form of capitulation and a kind of a surrender. So to that extent, it's a good thing. It's happened very well. It's happened the way it has happened. But these are the same top officials or the top echelons of TPLF who planned all these things who are now again negotiating the surrender. In other parts of the world, in other such incidents in history, it did not happen like this. But this is a new way of looking at it. The other bit that is coming out as strikingly popular is the fact that this is an African mechanism for an African problem. These things were negotiated both in Pretoria in South Africa and in Kenya, with the Kenyan former president as the lead negotiator in this, well, rather lead mediator in this efforts now. So TPLF is going to be disarmed. Whatever they created, TDF or God knows what, is going to be also disarmed. Tigray is still going to be part of the Ethiopian nation. So it's a good thing, in my opinion. It's something that is worth taking. You can write home about this, and the manner in which it has been executed is different. So in many ways, I think historians are going to write a lot about this. Political scientists are going to write a lot about this, and we will see how it ends. Those two of us, like me, who are skeptical from the beginning.
Why?
I always felt that every opportunity that
why people like you became skeptical about this peace talk, though?
We became skeptical, about this thing because whenever there was this kind of negotiations before with TPLF, they only used that window to arm themselves and to attack again. This is not the first time that the ceasefire was negotiated with the ultimate objective of bringing the two parties together and having a lasting peace in the country. But every time they got the opportunity, they used that opportunity or that window of opportunity to get more arms from their supporters in many parts of the world and to again launch another attack. So I was very skeptical before, but now I am more or less amenable to the manner in which it has been negotiated, because I don't think they're going to be a threat anymore in the history of this country. And TPLF, in my opinion, is going to die some kind of a natural death over a period of time, because once this peace is confirmed and a new system of governance is put in place, and the government itself participates, the central government itself participates in the building up of the new structures in Tigray region itself, then TPLF will lose the population, it will lose the support on the ground. And I think other forces will come in, and those other forces are going to become more relevant than TPLF.
The federal government and TPLF signed a piece of accord in Pretoria and in Kenya as well. Do you think this would bring a lasting peace in Ethiopian horizon?
I'm optimistic that there's going to be a lasting peace. One thing is that TPLF had wanted to be the Israel of the Horn of Africa, basically to be a very powerful military might that has the powers and the ability to flex its muscle in the four corners of the region, in Somalia, in Eritrea, in Ethiopia, in Djibouti, and to some extent maybe even as a deterrent force to Kenya. And then, of course, be there to do the bidding for other forces and other first world countries, with the hope that they will be there, to replace the. That is now lost out completely, very, very much lost out completely. So I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic in the progressive manner and the very cautionary manner in which this thing is going on. And the fact that there's going to be a new dispensation in Tigray, and new personalities and new forces and new, formations will form, who will basically interrogate very critically what TPLF has done to that region, because the TPLF destroyed every part of this Horn of Africa, Somalia, Ethiopia, Eritrea, and all of them. But more than anything else, they destroyed the region of Tigray more than any other of these other parts which I've mentioned now. So I think they will also come to the conclusion that those can only be compared to the Nazis of Germany. And you see, they would never want to have anything to do with them in the future. And I think the new formations, the political formations in Tigray, will be very Ethiopian and will want to live like any other region in the country.
A delegation led by Speaker of the House, Tagase Chafo, went to Mekelle last time and held a consultative meeting with Tigrayans from different segments of the society, from the civilians and military. What does that tell us, though?
Well, that tells that Tigray is going to have new elections, in my opinion, to determine who are going to represent them in the Ethiopian federal parliaments. And in the process also to try and study very well the kind of forces that are there, the parties, the formations that might, become applicable. So I think it's a good thing. It's a good thing. Those of them who want to join the PP, because the majority of the other Ethiopians have joined the PP, the Prosperity Party, which is one of the strongest national party now, will join. Those who feel that they want to be different will also have the freedom to do that, because this is a democracy at the end of the day. You will have democracy, you say it's the wish of the majority, but the right of the minority also to be heard. So you can represent your views as a minority in those houses. You do not have to necessarily be a conformist in the mainstream popular parties. It's your choice. So we'll see. Those who will join the PP will see. Those who will not join the PP and will end up in their own other parties will see. And who is going to carry the day in Tigray region also is something we will all be very keenly following and anxious to see how the Tigrayan people conduct themselves in this case.
The federal government has taken so many commitments to end up this conflict in peaceful manner. And what is expected from other stakeholders in effectively executing this ambitious plan, though?
Well, I think everybody needs to pull in the same direction. This is now all hands on the deck. to try and get a different Ethiopia and to get a different Tigray. And anybody who harbors any of those exceptionalist, what they call ideas, that essentially was tantamount to saying that we're the chosen people of God. I mean, the same way the Jews call themselves the chosen people of God, and that we can do what we want differently from the rest of the people. I think that what they call phenomena in the history of Tigray is finished and buried once and for all. So let's see how everybody behaves from here, how they conduct themselves from here. But I want to believe that many of them will want to be very good Ethiopians and be part of the country the way every other region is part of the country. You know, every other semi-autonomous region, Oromia, Sidama, Somali state, the Amara state, and the rest of them were also the Afar state. So it's not going to be very different from those ones. But let's see how they are going to move forward from here, because I'm inclined to believe that there will be new faces in the landscape of the Tigrayan politics. And those new faces definitely have got their own ideological persuasions that are diametrically opposed to what TPLF was propagating. So I see a situation in which TPF will die a very slow and kind of a painful death, because they've been used to running Ethiopia the way they want before, and now things have changed. Okay. And then other actors, other forces coming into the place to replace them. So let's see how it works.
You've been commenting and giving remarks about this reforms undergone by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. You've been appreciating that. And once you've said we need to give time to Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, and we'll see the end of the story later on. Now, it's been a year or so since you've commented this. Are you just seeing what you've been expecting on those days on ground now?
Yeah, I must admit I'm also too busy on the campaign trail, because I have to get elected again in my constituency in Dadaab, where I host in excess of 400,000 refugees from the region. And you know, we also went through an election, and the current president, William Ruto, won the elections. I didn't vote for him myself. I was on the other side. But somehow, I mean, people went to court. My side of the divide went to court, and we lost the court matter. And right now, we're very optimistic the way things are unfolding in the country, and hoping, you know, that things will go well. So because of being preoccupied very much in my own backyard, you are right. I must admit I did not have time to engage you on the Ethiopian or the regional debates, Somalia, Djibouti, Ethiopia, and the rest of them, or South Sudan. But I can tell you that Abiy has been doing the right thing. Almost everything that he did right now is something you can say the man has the best of intentions for Ethiopia and for the region at large. And like all very very dramatic and very prominent reforms, they need time. This is a very, it's not an easy thing, because the man was never given a chance to breathe. The moment he came into power through the PP, and shortly afterwards the wars in Tigray, the internal, what they call civil strife between the Oromo and Oromia region, and Amara region, and Afar region, and even to some extent the Somali Afar issues at the where they meet the fault lines. I mean, he has had a lot of challenges over the period of time, which I believe he has handled very well to the best of our own expectations. And I think given more time and less of problems, internal problems to worry about, he should be able to come up now with a revolutionary economic policy in that. For me, the way I see it is that the whole of Africa must be integrated economically. It must be integrated. For the people to live in peace between themselves and with the rest of the neighbors, there has to be an integration of the economy, and everybody has to be busy trying to make life better for themselves. And people have to look at that bigger picture, the bigger picture of the region itself. And I think he has a lot of those ideas, because he intends to support the establishment, the creation, the modernization of at least 4 ports in Somalia, and use that now for the traffic instead of depending exclusively on Djibouti for all traffics to Ethiopia in and out. Maybe they're going to have more options. At the same time, Ethiopia has been part of our efforts to create a Lamu corridor, the LAPSET, for them to be able to use Lamu as also a port for Ethiopian goods that go to the southern states, the Oromo, the Sidama, all those other regions that are bordering Kenya. So I am inclined to believe that he has the best of ideas in mind and wants to implement them. And we are now in the period of implementation. So I am optimistic, yes. The economy will grow, in my opinion. The Ethiopian economy will grow. The economy in the Horn of Africa will grow. I just hope Somalia, which has also gone through a presidential elections, is able to lockstep with the rest of the other countries in the region.
Yes, I also remember your insight previous time. You've said Horn of Africa definitely needs a leader like Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and Farmajo of Somalia. Unfortunately, Farmajo is replaced by Hassan Sheikh Mohamud. And again, Uhuru Kenyatta in Kenya replaced by William Ruto. Are you seeing that the ideal Horn of Africa is being run with these leaders, though?
Look, some of the leaders are very good on their domestic issues, but very poor at the regional levels. Some are very, very good at the regional levels, but not as well endowed when it comes to the local domestic levels. You forgot to mention Isaias Afwerki, who I see as the sage, the wise man of the region. I have a lot of respect for that man because he has resisted external interference in his country, and by extension has always advised the countries in the region to seek African solutions to African problems, and intended very much to create that close cooperation between Eritrea, Ethiopia, Somalia, Djibouti, South Sudan, and the rest of them, North Sudan. And so he's in my opinion, the leading man there, and did not want a lot of interference from the West or the East. I mean, to that extent, I think he stands out as the icon, as some kind of a pearl in the midst of everything else. But then with the changes that are there in Kenya and in Somalia, I must say that the one in Kenya, for regional integration, this man is better than the man who was there before. Ruto is much, much better than Uhuru, who was there before. And Ruto has already reached out to countries in the region, Ethiopia being one of them. And I have a very strong feeling that he will reach out even to the rest of the other countries, and in the process do much more in terms of integrating the Horn of Africa, the greater Horn of Africa, than his predecessor was able to even remotely achieve. Like I said, Isaias Afwerki is an integrationist. He believes in the integration of the Horn of Africa. Abiy equally is somebody who believes solidly in those principles. So I see a situation in which we will have developed a certain number of infrastructures that are going to facilitate the free movement of goods and people across our countries for purposes of business. So we are already developing those what do you call the infrastructural mega projects like the roads and bridges and ports and the rest of it. Lamu Port is coming up very fast. And Abiy has been to Lamu Port a number of times. I think more than once, at least. I don't know if it's once or twice, but he's been there. So I am optimistic for the future of this country. I'm optimistic for the role being played by Abiy and Afwerki and the others are basically either new to the place, but they also have the best of intentions in mind, like Kenya's Ruto, William Ruto.
This is a high time for Ethiopia and Ethiopian government to rehabilitate the war-torn regions, mainly in the north. And what has to be done in rehabilitating, revamping
Look, the government has got to look for resources to try and reverse the destructions that are made by the wars. War is a very, very brutal thing. It's not a kind thing. And every time there's a war in a country, you can rest assured there's people, a lot will be lost. It takes time to bring back all those lost, what you call, either infrastructural capacity or the goodwill or the people who are going back and forth doing business from one country to the other country. It takes time. The other thing, which is very commendable, is that the passports of all those countries are acceptable in all the other countries, except I think in the case of Kenya, where we don't accept the Somali passports except when there is a referral visa. They have to apply here in Nairobi, and once they've applied to Nairobi, then Nairobi approves, and then you go back to the embassy in Nairobi. So, and I hope that the Kenya is going to change also for the better in due course. So, I think we are on the right track. I can tell you we are on the right track, and I'm confident that we are on the right track.
Before you leave, any comment, any remark that you want to forward?
I think Abiy needs to be very cautious. We've had some very bad experiences with TPLF before. Right now, all indications that they are honest, they're genuine, they really want to bring an end to these problems. But again, you cannot trust them that well on the face value. It's not easy. So let him keep his cards very close to his chest. Let him trust them with all the might he has, but at the same time, maintain all that cautionary stance so that he's never taken by surprise. So those are the kind of things. Those are the kind of things that I think your president needs to look at and live in that kind of fashion.
Honorable Farah Maalim, former Deputy Speaker of Kenyan Parliament and who is member of the Parliament now. Thank you for your time and making time to give us this valuable insight. Yeah. And I would like to say thank you very much on behalf of OBN Horn of Africa.
Thank you very much, Alice. I appreciate talking to you. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you, sir. Dear viewers, this brings to the end of our edition for today. Thank you for watching. Bye. Have a good time.